So have you found out that business can be a little bit challenging and a little bit time consuming?
Mhm.
I know when I first started my business, I was super excited. I was like, I'm going to go and help so many people. And then I didn't realize that you need to help attract clients, get them to buy, put together communities, do an email list, figure out like not only all the systems to keep track of people, but also like how to attract people on social media. And all of these different things quickly overwhelmed me. It got to the point where I didn't realize that I was spending more time doing those things than I actually was doing things that moved my business forward. That is why today we have an incredible person that we get to share with you guys. She's actually a master coach on our team, and she is the master of systems. This is how you can get more done in less time, meaning you're producing more a lot of times, even when you're sleeping, so that when you wake up, not only can you get into the things that you really love to do that move the needle forward, but you know that all of the other stuff is going to be taken care of for you. So today we are going to tackle how to make business easier and how to save a ton of time. And if you're ready to do that with us, let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
So let's go. Let's go. So before I welcome our incredible co-host who's going to be here with us today, I want to say hi to everybody. So what's going on, everybody? Whether this is your first time on our Modern Leadership YouTube channel, there we go, YouTube channel. We want to welcome you with open arms. Welcome to the community of family-driven entrepreneurs who wants to create a business that we love, create deeper connections with our family, and get into the best physical and mental shape of our life. This is what we do every single weekend, every Saturday. Super pumped to be here. I see that Shelly's here, Gedine is here. We have a new member of our Inner Circle, which is our YouTube program here, Divine Well Designs. Ooh, got Tina and Cheryl. And of course, we've got Kane, aka Kurt, and Trisha, and Zeke, Anthony. What's going on, guys? And Julie and Steve. Guys, welcome to the call. And without further ado, I want to invite my friend, our master coach, an incredible, not only coach, but friend, somebody that we've known for quite a long time, right? It's been incredible watching her like transform, but really like when I think about systems, I think about Annie. When I think about like
Efficiency.
actually, I know what's the name of her podcast? Effortless. What is it, Annie?
Effortlessly productive.
Effortlessly productive. When I think about like producing more in like the least amount of energy that you possibly can, I think of Annie because she puts together not only the structures that have helped me, but also for her own business, and even does that for our mentor, Josh Coates, where she's the person behind the scenes. And it's crazy how fast she can put that together, but how beautiful and seamlessly it works together. So Annie, welcome to the show. How you doing, my friend?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I think we started talking about me being a guest on here like over a year ago. So it's about time. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We knew you had to get your kids to ship off to the next door neighbors before we could actually have something like this with all the lacrosse and all the different things that you have going on. But we appreciate you for coming here. So can you do us a favor? So we know a lot of the people here. You got a lot of fans that are here already. A lot of people are like super excited about this. And I was talking about it on our life coach certification call earlier. But for people who maybe don't know you, can you give us like maybe 1 or 2 minutes about who Annie is, what you kind of like help people do, and a little bit of, just who you are?
Yeah, definitely. So I have been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I worked 9-to-5 jobs, like kind of traditional jobs in high school and college. But as soon as I graduated from college, I have owned my own businesses since then. So entrepreneurship is definitely in my heart and soul, and it's what I love doing. I also have 3 kids, as a lot of you guys know. So they are, if I can remember their ages, they are 11, 8, and 7. So life is super fun, super busy. They all play lacrosse. I am also the director of their lacrosse club. So lots of things going on. In my business, what I help people do is so I am a master life coach, like Mark said. So I do a lot of business coaching with people. And in that business coaching, I also help people set up automations and systems for their business. So I am an automations specialist for sure. I
Mhm.
started learning computer programming when I was like 14 years old. So all of that technology comes very naturally to me. I went to school for web design, so I have a background in the graphical side of things as well. And I just really love taking these complex things that need to happen and simplifying it and really helping people. So my effortlessly productive framework that I teach my one-on-one clients, I help people figure out what in their business and in their personal life as well they can automate, what they can delegate, what they can eliminate and just get rid of, and then what they need to take ownership of. So that's kind of me in a quick 2-minute nutshell.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And Gadine said, "Hi, Annie. What's going on, Felix? Good morning." Super pumped to even talk about this, Annie. And what you said at the end is like really critical. And this is something that I've found really powerful about you. Is it's not something that you just use in business. It's also something you use in multiple places. Like you didn't talk about this, but you also own a brick and mortar with your husband, right? And getting to see you employ this, but also a lot of your leadership and coaching skills in the brick and mortar is kind of like one of those things where I'm always like, every single time you talk about some situation that you've been through or something that you've helped somebody through, I'm like, she's using all of these universal principles in multiple different areas. So super proud of you for that. And I'm just curious, and I know Teresa probably wants to talk at some point today, but I'm curious, like how you actually landed in the like using all of the being this specialist when it comes to like automations and stuff like that. Is it something because of your background that it just automatically happened, or was it something you had to struggle through? I'm curious how that started.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was just kind of a computer. I was a very nerdy child. I was into computers from a very young age and learned, my background is actually in like computer programming, like the hard coding of what's happening in the background on computers. However, I also was an artist and I love doing the art. And I wanted to kind of marry the two together. And that's where my initial idea of so first I wanted to be like a computer animation artist. And then I decided in college, I was like, I would really like to get into web design. And that was actually the first business that I launched was a web design business. So I really loved taking the very like techie, like logical side of things and marrying it with that beautiful graphics, the like appealing, like just it looking amazing and people being attracted to that look and really marrying the two. And so
Mhm.
I had my web design business. I've had lots of other businesses, like you said, Mark. My husband and I have an automotive shop that we also started right out of college. So, lots of just general entrepreneur and business owner experience over the years. But as time went on, like it was hard. Like I have so many interests and I was like, how do I take all of these different things, all of these different pieces and be able to use all of it?
Mhm.
I'm very good at leadership and delegating. Like, how do I take all of these different pieces and bring it all together? And so I think it was through all of that that I realized that there was this need of business owners who maybe don't have that tech background and don't love the design thing. I meet so many people who are like, graphics is like my least favorite thing on the face of the planet. And
Yeah.
I love creating things like that as well. Creativity is one of my core values. So it was really kind of the flow of all of that, bringing it together and knowing that I also get to help business owners figure out what they can take off of their plate because our journey as small business owners with my husband, things can be so stressful. At the beginning, you're trying to do literally every single thing for your business all by yourself. And that is a lot. That's a lot of pressure. So figuring out how to take all of that, and like you said, I apply everything to my personal life as well. When it comes to like outsourcing, I'm like, yes, clean my house, do my laundry, get groceries delivered, like all the things. I'm like, how can I find ways to make my life easier and take things off of my plate
Mm.
is one of my big big things that I work with people on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, so many people are in the whole, if I want to achieve more, I have to do more, right? I have to put
Mhm.
Yeah.
more action in. I have to do it myself. It has to be perfect. Or, and I know as I was in that for a very, very long period of time.
Mhm.
So can you give us some examples of maybe some ways that like automating things or using systems can actually help people become more efficient, to get more done, to have less stress, all this kind of stuff? Because I know you work with a lot of one-on-one clients, and what's crazy is that some of your one-on-one clients are my one-on-one clients. And I have to say that the people who reach out and have somebody who loves doing this, right? Because
Mhm.
most of them are like, I hate this with the plague. Like, it's just like the plague. I want to take my hands off of it. And I'm like, well, you find somebody who not only excels at it, but likes it. It makes the process of growth so much quicker. So I am curious, like, when you do work with them, like, what are some things that you have found that have helped them the most to become more efficient?
Yeah, and this is where I do think that it's really important to customize things for each individual business owner. That's part of why it's so important to work with somebody one on one with things like this, because what I need to automate and what systems I need to put in place might be different than the automation that you need,
Hmm.
because we all have our own strengths. We all have our own things that we do very well and do like nobody else. And those are the things that we need to hold on to. And hopefully, those are also things that we love doing too.
Hmm.
So, hopefully, we find a place where there are things that we do very well, like nobody else, and we love doing them. And that's what we need to hold on to. And that's unique to each and every individual. So, finding those things that don't fall into those categories are where we need to then start to build into place either automations or outsourcing, like having another human do it. So, really figuring out how to take all of those other things and get them off of your plate, whatever way that is the most important thing. So, I think that's part of why it's really important to look introspectively. And if you're having a hard time figuring out what those things are, what those systems are, work with somebody one-on-one, work with a coach who can help you figure all of that out. But the sky is really the limit at this point in terms of ways that we can automate things. We can automate our marketing to a certain extent. We can automate just things as simple as like people signing up for a call with you, like booking that call and then getting call reminders so that you don't have to be doing those things. It's often the like very small kind of mundane tasks that you do over and over and over. Anything that you are doing repetitively that doesn't require human input is something that could, and I hate the word should, but maybe should be automated,
Yep.
because you don't need to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I am curious for anybody who here is live with us, and even if you're watching the replay, what comes up to mind when Annie is kind of like giving you some ideas there, right? And I totally hear what you're saying when it comes to like this being a personal path. Like everybody has different like likes, dislikes, things that they're strong with, things that they're weak with, right? And what I found is like when I try to spend too much time in my weaknesses, not only does it get me to not show up the way that I want to because I'm not spending time on my strengths, but also it just my energy is much more like in the dumps because I'm like, oh, I hate doing this and business sucks and this is the worst thing ever. When in reality, that could be something that I outsource or find somebody else to do. Right.
Mhm.
And it's crazy because like some people love doing that.
Mhm.
Some people are not only good at it, but they love doing it, which is like why we got Annie on here because she's both of those, right? She likes doing it, but she also is like excellent at it. And when you find those people who are both those, like that's how we pour into them, right? We're like, hey,
Yeah.
we would really like you to be able to take over this part of the steering so we don't have to do it so much, right?
Yeah.
So do you wanna ask the next question?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So, what I'm curious about is what do you find is a challenge for people as far as the processes that need to be implemented when it comes to automation? And like, do you put your life coach hat on when some challenges come up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find a lot of people are very scared of technology, or
Mm,
they have this belief, and this is where the life coaching part comes in. They have this belief that I'm not techie. I'm not good at tech. I can't figure this out.
Mhm.
And often what I find as I dive in, and this is part of why I will work with people just on automating. I have software that I sell and build and design that really will help people implement all of these systems. However, what I really love to do is work with people one on one because it's often the beliefs holding them back. And I find often that people they look at all of the things that they have to or want to implement and build and systematize, and it's overwhelming. It's even overwhelming for me when I look at all of the things that you want to have automated and put into a system. And part of what I love helping people do is break it down one thing at a time and create that customized path and journey for them. But even if you're trying to do this all by yourself, which is great if you're willing to dive into this, I think taking it piece by piece. And rather than looking at the huge big picture, which can put you into that place of overwhelm and being stuck, I like to ask myself, so literally every single month, I was thinking back to this. I used to do this every month, and I was like, I am going to start doing this again. I ask myself, what do I need to learn this month? And what do I want to build this month? And that helps me focus on one thing. It helps me learn that next piece of technology or marketing strategy or even personal growth things. So really focus that learning in on the one area that's going to help me grow to the next level. And then also, what am I going to build? So it's not a humongous thing of like, I'm going to build an entire website and automation system. No, this month I am going to build my calendar so people can schedule appointments with me not having to go back and forth on like, what time zone are you in? What time
Mhm.
works for you? So really kind of chunking it down so it's not that huge thing, and you can take it piece by piece and learn the things you need to learn in order to implement.
Mm. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I like that a lot. I know you kind of talked about like automate, delegate, eliminate, right? All of those different things. I'm curious, like when you start with a client, is there a certain like one of those words that you actually hit on first? Is there an order to it that you usually go down?
So, what I usually do with people is I have them take a couple of days, ideally both weekdays and weekends, whatever the kind of different days of their life, and literally list out every single thing that they do, both in business and in personal life, because this is going to start to give us a roadmap of where is your time being spent. And then from there, we can start to figure out number one, what on that list is literally a waste of time. And I will say, from a personal perspective, if you love doing it and it brings you joy, that's not a waste of time. I think a
Mm,
lot of the time people are like, "Oh, this isn't like pushing my business forward." But if it's lighting you up and giving you energy, like absolutely you can keep that. But I think we can all think of things that we do, especially in our business, that just
mhm,
truly are a waste of time.
mhm,
So we can just get rid of those. And then from there, the really big difference between automating and delegating is automation is things that does not require a human to touch it or be involved. Whereas when we need to delegate something, those are things that require some kind of human input. And I think it's important to recognize the difference between those two. If we're trying to automate something that requires human touch and human input, like creating graphics, for example, is a really good one. Like there is now like AI image
mhm,
creation and things like that. But a lot of the time, we want somebody who understands our artistic views and has that perspective and can create exactly what we are looking for and what we love.
mhm,
So that would be an example of something that I would delegate. Whereas creating a workflow to remind people of when their appointment is, like we don't have to have a human touch that. we can just have an automated system do that. So that's how I then take that list. And again, we can take this to our personal life as well. Like I mentioned, like laundry, like we have to have a human do it. There's unfortunately no machine or system that can wash and fold our
Yes.
laundry
Yes,
entirely
right.
yet. Please, somebody invent that because I need it desperately in my life. But that's something, if that is something you don't enjoy doing and it's not a good use of your time, maybe that is something that you can hire somebody to come into your home and do that for a couple hours a week. If that's, and I think it's important. That's why I have people look at everything that they are doing, all the tasks, because then we can start to prioritize, like, what is the biggest energy drain for you? Where are you getting stuck? What is that buffering activity that you tend to go to that maybe we can kind of give to somebody else?
That makes sense. That makes sense. So kind of like what it sounds like is, obviously doing some type of, I guess, like audit
Yeah.
of where you are, right?
Mhm.
Especially like, and I know some people who are like, well, I could benefit from this like at my work and in my business and in my life, and just picking one of those areas, right? And saying, hey, I'm going to tackle this area right now. This is the area what I feel like to describe it this way. It's the biggest domino, which this domino will help me knock over the other dominoes. So I'm going to choose this specific area. I'm going to figure out all the things that I do. And then I'm going to ask myself, like, is it a waste of time? Which means it shouldn't be done at all, right? I love what you said there, by the way, because there's things that I do now, like I'll play video games with my son who keeps running up and down the stairs to get the puppy new treats because he wants to keep the puppy quiet. But like I'll play video games and do things like that. And it might not seem like it's productive, but it's my recovery time. Same with my walks with like my family. That's like my recovery time, allows me to download like new thoughts and new ideas and new business strategies and stuff like that. So it's not that that's a waste of time, right? So being able to holistically look at it and go, is it something that I need to eliminate? And then from there, is it something that can be automated, right? Because if it can be automated, we probably shouldn't delegate it, because delegating is usually a little bit more expensive than automating is, right? Having a system, have it all set up, good to go, knowing it's running in the background, right? All the time. And then what are some things that we can kind of like outsource, right? And I really like the idea of doing this also for your personal life, because there's sometimes, and I find this a lot with my one-on-one clients, there's some things in their personal life that's actually holding them back from being able to spend more time and energy, mostly energy, in their business. And when you realize that you're doing all of these things at home, trying to be like super mom or super dad and doing all of these different things, that when you take some of that stuff off your plate, you have the time back, but you also have the energy back, especially the brain capacity back, right? When you can give some of those tasks to someone else so you don't even have to think about it, you won't realize how quickly you can grow in your business. So I really like that a lot. Do you have you want to ask the next question? You want me to?
Actually, I was curious. It's not one of the questions that we have listed, but going back to what you mentioned about automation and like that human touch, if it doesn't need to be touched by a human, like automated. I had a client who was hesitant about that because they thought that they liked that human touch. So, there's systems like Dubsado and things like that that kind of have workflows where if you get a new client, then they're sent an email and there's different steps that are taken that you don't necessarily have to do. But they were hesitant about that because they thought, well, I really want to like personalize this. And so there was this thought that she had about this whole thing, and it was keeping her from really kind of setting aside things that didn't really need to be done by her. And that was causing some tension. So what do you say for people who feel like, well, if I automate everything and I work with people, what is that going to do with that human touch that I still want to have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I would say that number one, when you are writing the content or messaging or whatever it is that you are going to be sending out automated, pour your heart and your energy into that. That is where that human touch comes from. It's not that we aren't putting any human touch in. It's not that the message or the email has to be cold and scripted. Like, you take the time to pour your heart into it as you would if you were reaching out to each and every individual. And that way, that human touch is still there. You just don't have to be the one to click the send button every single time. So I think that we can add a lot of personal touch and just our personality and our energy into these automations in different ways, but also remembering that us saving the time of having to, because it's not just clicking the send button. It's,
Mhm.
oh, this person requested more information and I have to check in on that every day, and all of that mental bandwidth that goes into remembering to check in on those different things. That energy can be used for pouring into that client and
Mhm.
helping them grow and helping them with whatever it is that you do in your business. So we get to insert our energy to begin with. And then we get to pour our energy into people in the most impactful way that we can.
Mm,
So it's not that we're totally removing that, but it's us choosing where to go. Because often find too, business owners, a really big limiting belief holding entrepreneurs back is, I don't I don't want to grow my business because I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle all of the clients. I don't
Mhm.
know if I'm going to be able to serve these people in the best way possible. And if you are literally having to show up every day and click those send buttons on all of those emails or whatever it is, that is what is going to prevent you from reaching more people and having that massive impact that you want to have. So I think it's all that give and take. It's, from the life coaching perspective, as you both know, it's
mhm,
it's that shift in the heart voice of what is it that really matters, and what is going to be the most meaningful impact that I can make. Where is that impact going to be the most felt? And for each and every one of us, we need to think about, is it that we want to reach 1 million people, 1 billion people? Maybe we decide that we only want to reach 20 people and we're okay with that. And if that is the impact that you are looking for, then sure, maybe you do have the capacity to send each one of those emails individually. But if you're looking for that bigger impact and you're stressed out and you don't know where more time is going to come from, that's when we need to start to really evaluate, are our goals in alignment with the systems that we have in place.
mm.
Mm. Love that.
Yeah, great point. Spoken like a true master coach for sure. I'm not sure if you guys all caught that, what she was talking about, like related to like hitting that send button and actually putting yourself into the email, into the scripts that you're just giving someone else to hit the send button on.
Mhm.
Even that little mindset shift is just like, no, this is a human. This is me putting myself into this. And then it's just them hitting the send button or hitting the reply button or whatever. Right. And even being able to reframe like how that feels when you think through that new thought of like, actually, this is personalized and I'm doing it because I do want to make a huge impact, just really changes the game. So thank you for that, Annie. And I'm curious though, because we did talk automate and delegate, and I want to spend a little bit more time on automate because we've had some other videos and stuff that we've done delegating, but people get to that point where they're like, okay, either how do they choose what to automate first or what program do they use? Because I don't know about you, there's like programs everywhere in my news feed, and there's like this and this and this and this. So I'm curious, like, what do you usually recommend to people related to what do they start automating kind of like first, but also like how? Like with what software, what programs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I get asked this a lot, and I'm actually going to answer it in reverse. So, we're going to talk about what system or what platforms first. And on that front, I would say sit down and we're going to begin with the end in mind. So, oftentimes, and I did this myself, I learned this lesson the hard way. I was like, I want to do email marketing. So, I went out and found a platform that only did email marketing, and it was a fantastic platform for email marketing, but it didn't do anything else. So then when I wanted a calendar, I added on a calendar software, and I ended up with literally like 20 different softwares, trying to make them all talk to each other, embedding stuff from one platform onto a website on a different platform. So I would recommend, number one, sit down and think about my business 5 years from now. what do I want that to look like? What are all of the things technology wise that I might need? So maybe you are going to want a website and a calendar and sales pages and funnels and email marketing, and the list goes on and on. Literally brain dump everything and then go find a platform that can support all of those things.
Mm.
So I am a very big proponent of the all-in-one platforms, and that's what our software, Coach OS. There are lots of other options out there as well, but that's part of why I am in love with the software that we developed, because it literally can do all of those things. Just because you have all of those things doesn't mean you have to use them right away. But when you're ready to take that next step, it's going to save you a ton of headache, also a ton of money. I
Mhm.
can't even tell you how much money I was spending once I got these 20 different subscriptions. I was like, wow, this is adding up to a lot every month. So, really planning in advance, solving that problem in advance so that 5 years down the line, you're not having to switch over. And I can't even tell you how many times I switched from one platform to another, to another, to another as my business grew. And I look back at how much time and energy I put into switching platforms. It's massive. And I could have been using that to grow my business instead. So I would say start with the end in mind. Think about all the things that you might want, all the systems and technology you might want, and see what's out there in terms of finding a platform that meets that as much as possible. And then when you are trying to figure out what to start with automating, I would look at what is a task that you do over and over and over again in your business that does not necessarily require a human. So, like I had mentioned, for me, one of the big ones was going back and forth with people in messages about what time we could schedule an appointment for. There was so much time going, literally just going back and forth. And half the time they would drop off partway through before we had even figured something out.
Yep.
So, having that calendar to send to people, for me, that was like a really big one. And so I would just look at, where are you spending a lot of time? Where can you also make this easier for your customers and your clients? Because now people are used to being able to do things automatically. Like, I know for me, even when if I'm like booking a hair appointment or something, I'm like, I don't want to have to pick up the phone and call. I just want to pick out a time that is easy. So think about those things that people are used to and how you could implement that in your business to make your customers' experience easier, faster, better. And then just start there. Start with one simple thing. Start with that thing that you're doing over and over again that would be really, really easy for you to take that one thing again, rather than looking at like, oh my gosh, I have a million different things in my business I need to build and automate.
Mhm.
Find that lowest, I don't like the phrase lowest hanging fruit, Mark. You know, I don't like that, but find that thing that is going to make a huge impact and just be one simple thing. And from there, you can build on it.
Mhm.
I didn't build all my automations overnight. It's been a process over a decade now of putting these little pieces together. And like I said, each month I build on that and build on that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. One of the things that you kind of like brought up there that I do want to bring up with everybody is there's this concept called opportunity cost. And for some reason when we get into business, we think about like, oh, how much time is this going to take, or how much energy or how much money it's going to take. But what you don't realize is the opportunity that you give up when you decide to lean into your head voice, right? And to stay small, right? To not actually have an opportunity. I mean, for example, like the whole scheduling thing. I got to tell you, like, I work with a lot of people who have no schedule, and they go back and forth and people fall off, and then they don't schedule a time to coach, and then they lose an opportunity to actually pour into this person, right? And I'm like, there's like a way for you to have a scheduling app that you send a link, and then the person will instantly know where you're available and whatnot. And that would make it so much frictionless. But also think about the time and energy that you won't have to worry about using anymore. but also the opportunities that you're giving up by not having this link. Like
Mhm.
I think about that a lot when people are like, oh, now's not the right time to sign up for this program, or now's not the right time for this. I'm like, you're thinking about what you have to lose right now. You're forgetting about what you have to gain.
Mhm.
Because the gain is not like a transfer from this to this, it's this to 10x, it's this to like 500x, right? It's like when you make it an easy transition, you don't have to do all of that. And there's so many opportunities that you don't even know exist that would have existed if you had freed up your time, your space, and your energy. So
Mhm.
I'd like to say that I went down the path that Annie did. We did not. We had and still have like too many multiple things. And we've been canceling things and moving things together and figuring out different ways of doing things and having access to Coach OS now, being able to see, like, are you serious? It does that too? Like, we get it to the point where we're like, we got to do and pay for something else. And then Annie's like, no, actually, it does that too. And I'm like, are you serious? It's one of those things where when you find that resource, whether it's Coach OS or something else, and it has all of these things, you don't have to even think about use your brain power anymore. It's like, oh, all I got to go in there and design it. And for some of us, like actually have somebody else to go in there and help design it, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm not a professional when it comes to that. But by being able to do that, we create so many other opportunities where I get to speak on stage at the Dad Edge. I get to do all of these things because I'm not worried and bogged down with all the different things. So I really want to really like get that opportunity cost in your brain, not just when we're talking about automations, but all of the other things. When your brain's like, I'm not sure I can afford that. I'm not sure that I'm going to have enough time. I'm not sure if like I'm going to do this right now. I want you to tap into like what opportunities are you going to be missing when you decide to lean into your head voice? Because there's so many opportunities, ones you know, but a lot more that you don't know that would have existed if you had like poured into that, right? And it's not a straight time for energy, it's actually time and the multiplication of that. I mean, I use this all the time by pointing to Kurt, who's on my screen. You guys can't see him,
Mhm.
but he's a time multiplier. He's not a time addition. Like I will do a podcast or do this show. I send it to him. He makes it 1,000 times better than I would, faster than I ever could. And even like comes up with ideas that I would never have been able to think of. And like either I'm sleeping or playing or doing something else or working in another part of the business. And I didn't have to think about it. Right. So it's really powerful when you have those automations and stuff in place because it is that opportunity cost. So I wanted to point that out because I know you brought that up, but I really wanted to solidify that because people get to this point and they're like, well, I'm not ready. I'm not big
Mhm.
enough. I haven't grown enough.
Mhm.
I don't have enough people. I don't have enough clients, right? I just want to say this for a second. If I had thought about all the times that I was taking money, getting paid for our business and then shelling out more than I was actually bringing in, and just thought to myself, like, if any one of those times I was like, well, I can't afford this because I'm not bringing enough money in, when it comes to my business. When my business makes more money, then I'll be able to do this thing.
Yeah, but how are you gonna do
I would
that?
have been totally stuck because the way that I actually get more clients is by doing this thing.
Yeah.
The way that I actually get more clients is by learning coaching, by learning marketing, by developing this thing. It's like, it doesn't make sense logically when you say it out loud. It's like, but how am I going to do that if I don't have this tool or skill or thing that's going to help me do that? Right.
Mhm.
And it's just the way that our head voice acts and gets us to convince us that we're not ready for this or it's not time. Right. It's crazy how much you get out of your way when you have a system like this. We haven't talked about this, but Annie, I do want you to talk to this too. When you do have automation in place, especially for people who are overthinkers, who they don't just hit send, they'll go back and read the email 72 times and maybe they'll add an extra comma or something
Wait,
like that.
are you
And
talking
then,
about me?
no, I'm talking about me. Like how much time that actually saves you, yes, by hitting the send button, but for like people who are overthinkers who like to overthink every single conversation and every single thing, like, have you noticed that this actually helps clients not only not have to do that thing, but actually helps them with their brain power and into getting more into doing the things that actually move the needle forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I definitely fall into that category with conversations. Like, I do very well with public speaking. I am super shy and get nervous one on one. So, even like one on one online conversations, I overthink that to death. And that's part of why I was like, I'm going to hire a VA to do a lot of my conversation flow because I would get so stuck in what I was going to say. Is this the right thing? All the questions going through my mind. What is this person going to think? How are they going to respond? How am I going to respond back? Like it was like this huge thought spiral. And each one of those conversations would take me forever. So when I could just have somebody do that part of it for me and focus on the other areas, all of a sudden it unlocked so much. So yeah, that absolutely is a real thing, that when things are just happening automatically, where especially in areas where it takes you a really long time for whatever reason that is, whether it's because you overthink it or because it's just not one of your strengths, or, whatever that is, like Mark said, like, oh my gosh, you can build these automations so fast for Josh's business. Like, so if it takes you so long to build those things or to build a funnel, have somebody build it who can do it really fast, because then you get to focus on other things that you do really well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're the overthinker, right? Because you'll take 3 weeks to put together a landing page, and it could be done in like 2 hours if you have somebody like Annie or somebody like that can actually help you through that. Think
Yeah.
about all the buffering you would be doing in 3 weeks, right? Instead
Yeah.
of like not even having to think about it, going, yeah, Annie's working on that, it's good to go, or whatever, right? To be
Mhm.
able to have that as like an outsource option. I am curious though. So somebody decides to join or decides to like automate some things, right, and delegate some things. um, my thoughts are this probably isn't a set it and forget it thing where you set it once and then you never check in on it. You never see if it's working, or you never see if it can be streamlined more or anything else being adjusted to that. Like, what do you normally recommend in terms of like, once people get this into place? I mean, is there like a certain time frame that you do to actually go through it again to make sure it's most up to date? Like, how do you usually help people through that?
Yeah, there definitely are things in your business that you can set it and forget it to a certain extent.
Mm,
I definitely recommend, if you are at a place in your business where you are having a lot of growth, where maybe your messaging has changed, where your focus has changed, where especially if you've launched a new program or product or something like that, or eliminated something that you used to be offering. So any of those really big transitions, it's a good idea to go back and look through what you have set up. But
mhm,
I think also just constantly being mindful of, like, what do I have in place? Is this still working? If something is still working, yes, keep doing it. If you think maybe it's working, but maybe I could do it better, maybe I could get better results, I recommend leaving whatever is working in place
mhm,
and then doing a test of something new to
mhm,
see if that works even better. But if something is not working and is not bringing results, absolutely, that is 100% a time to do a review there.
mm,
So it really is, it's hard to put like a prescribed time. If you're somebody who likes a prescribed time, maybe every quarter sit down in your business and kind of look over everything and review everything. If you're somebody who doesn't do as well with those like set milestones, just remember that anytime there is a shift, you want to go back and change things. If you realize, like, hey, I'm writing my social media posts and emails from like a very different voice than I had a few months ago, then absolutely, again, this goes back to that like personal touch and making sure you are inserted into what you're putting out there. That is a time to go back and review what you've written. And it's not that you have to totally scrap everything, but maybe you do a few edit. So that's my best advice for it, for two different personality types who
mhm,
like need that deadline to like sit down and have a review, or for people who are like, I don't want to have that on my calendar, I just want to kind of flow a little bit more.
mhm.
That's totally fine, but definitely, again, anytime there's that big transition, or you realize that you have grown and you have changed as an entrepreneur, that's a really good time to sit down and review what you have in place.
I really like that. Really like that.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do go back and I look at my emails and I'm like, what in the world? Where was I last year? And I
Yep.
think it's also pretty cool to go like, wow, I have grown. Like I
Mhm.
maybe didn't
Yeah.
think that I have grown in the last 6 months or a year, but when you go back and read those and you're like, wow, I have a better way of articulating this where I can make it more simple instead of having it be 72 like paragraphs, right? Is
Mhm.
it really
Mhm.
is a game changer. So I want to ask you like just a final one or two questions, Annie, and that is like, um, Can you kind of share maybe a success story? I know that you work with clients one-on-one where you've seen that their business, maybe even their personal life, like they've been able to see some significant progress because they leaned into like automations and systems. Does someone or something come to mind in terms of like something that people can relate to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have so many, but I'm going to go to my mom because my mom, I love
Yay.
her as an example. So my mom is in her mid 70s. She has been an entrepreneur. She owns a fashion design business, and she does a lot of her business actually teaching other people for to like the design process, pattern making, constructing garments. So she is, like I said, she's in her mid 70s. She has embraced technology. I am very proud of her. However, she would be the first one to say she is not tech savvy. And that's why I love using her as an example. So she actually came to me wanting life and business coaching. She was looking at coming up on retirement age and being like, I have no idea how I'm ever going to be able to retire or even go to part-time because I have so many things going on. I still need some income coming in. I'm not at the point where I'm ready to just live off of what I have for retirement savings. And she also wants to keep pouring into people. She loves teaching and what she was doing. But it was literally consuming everything. She was like, I want to be able to spend more time in my garden. I want to be able to spend more time with the grandkids and doing family things. I want to be able to take a day off when I want to take a day off. So she came to me for the life coaching,
Mhm.
honestly. And what came out of the life coaching was that her business really needed some streamlining and some systems and automations. And so, what I was able to help her build for her, she also was very much tied to, she wants to leave a legacy. She's at the point where she's like, I have so much knowledge. I need to figure out a way to leave that for people that when I am gone or when I have retired fully, people can still take this knowledge that I have. And I want it to be this living thing out there where people can access it and it's not just gone. So I helped her put in place a strategy using Facebook and Instagram ads, using her YouTube channel, email marketing. And what came out of it is, number one, we have grown her YouTube following to a very, like, it's been growing consistently and steadily, where she was at like maybe 300 subscribers. I'm not even sure where she is now, but it has just been consistently growing and growing and growing. Her email list had been kind of stagnated, and that has also just exploded. But even more importantly, so she does a lot of live workshops. And that was where, ultimately we want to be looking at what we want. So she wants to help more people and she wants more income without having to put in more time and effort. And so these live workshops that she was doing went from, I think she said she used to have maybe 5 or 10 people on them. She now consistently has like 50 to 70 people on paid workshops every single time. And we have not done anything extra to promote these workshops. We have literally just grown her following and grown her email list. So she's in front of more people and more people want to work with her.
Mm.
So that has been absolutely amazing. And we are now at the place where we are building evergreen courses. So basically taking her teachings and putting it into courses that people can take. And then also on YouTube as well, where people can go see free videos of the things that she is teaching and really being able to start to work on that legacy project of hers, which before she literally didn't have the bandwidth, the time, the energy, like mental space, any of it to be able to focus on that, which is where she really wants to be putting her energy right now.
Well,
I
that is
love that so
that
much.
I know that is so awesome. I remember when you first talked to me about like, hey, my mom's going to be one of my clients. I was like so proud of you for two reasons. Number one is because that she like thinks of you as a daughter like that, where it's like, hey, I've got so much to learn from my daughter. which is awesome and open, like for your
Mhm.
mom, but also the vice versa, right? Where you're like, I feel comfortable enough to actually coach and help someone that I love, so much in this world. And that there was like that mutual respect with back and forth between both of you. So
Mhm.
I love that. Love you were able to help her. I have been a subscriber to her channel, and I have seen it like blow up, and I've also seen her confidence on camera even kind of like develop, right? And it's
Yeah.
so crazy when you think about like it doesn't take any more time to do that. It's just like using automation and systems. And I think that this is like a really important point, and that is like if more people knew who you were, you would be able to make more impact in their lives, because I really truly believe every single one of you has something that the world needs. It's just that there's so many different distractions, so many things that are coming from different angles that it's hard to find that person, right? So I don't want you to don't want you to think that it has anything to do with you. Just has a lot to do with like what are the systems, what are the automations, how do you get in front of more people, and whatever that answer is for you, using your strengths, right, not your weaknesses, but using your strengths. That really is where the power is. Next week we actually have a call just for our inner circle where we're going to be talking about that, like how to expand your network and like get more people under your umbrella. Maybe not necessarily using social media, maybe other ways. We've had a lot of clients go outside of social media and have a lot of success, but we got to really tap into like everybody's individual strengths, which is what Annie was talking about here today.
Mhm.
But I truly do believe that you guys have so much amazing capabilities and so many things to teach and train. It's just not enough people know you yet.
Mhm.
And I want to do whatever I can to get them all to know you, just like this. Like some of you guys didn't even know who Annie was, right? And I was like, I need Annie to get on our show because the world needs to know about Annie, because so many people are struggling with this and they need a solution. So that's why we asked her to come here. So Annie, thank you so much for this. Can you kind of
Thank you
share?
guys.
Yeah, can you kind of share how somebody could get connected to you if they want some help, they want more information? I know you have your podcast. Can you kind of just share like what the best route would be for them?
Yeah, the best place to find me right now is on my website, avmcoaching.com.
Mm.
So that has, like Mark said, I literally just launched my podcast this week. I'm
Yay.
super excited about it. Effortlessly Productive. So that has the links to my podcast. It's also on YouTube as well. So you can find that there. If you are interested in Coach OS software that we were chatting about, I have links for that on there, as well as working with me one-on-one if you are wanting some extra life business coaching, some like specific customized automations help, or yeah, just kind of following along with what I am doing. So that's definitely the best place. You can also find me on Instagram at AVM Coaching, and obviously just search podcast on all the different podcast places. You can search Effortlessly Productive, but links are on my website.
I love that. I love that. I love that we got to give you the push to actually finally come out with that podcast, because should have we were like, Annie, you should have came up with this podcast like 5 years ago.
I know, I know. It was an idea 5 years ago. The
It
timing
was.
just I needed to meet Kurt.
Yes, you did. And you're
Kurt
welcome
is
for that. Once
amazing.
again, let's go back to that. We need to share the message of the people that we want to get in front of you so that you guys can get the help that you need so you can do the things that you love to do and make more impact, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Two real quick things, guys. We're going to pull our question of the day. It's kind of like a something that we actually were talking about in our app. And I'll share it with you in a second. But also next week, we have the call that we're going to be doing that is going to be focused on how to expand your network, how to reach more people. And yes, we're going to be talking a little bit about social media, but we're actually going to be talking about a lot of things outside of social media that a lot of our one-on-one clients have been testing and trying and actually have been finding that really, truly work for them. So we're going to talk about that depending on your strengths, how to find more clients, how to do what's called expand, engage, convert. We'll talk about that next week so that you can get people through that process. So really you can make a huge impact in their life. Okay. You ready for this question?
Yeah.
This is a question that I think you want to ask yourself rather than asking your kids at the table today. Okay.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
one of these, it's kind of like a scary question, and we're going to ask it anyway. All right. It says, at my funeral, I hope to be described as
Wow.
blank. So at my funeral, I hope to be described as blank. There's this exercise that I had to do inside of the Dad Edge when I first joined it like 4 years ago. And it was like, we want you to write your eulogy. What is your family? What are the people that you made an impact on? Like, who are the people you lead? Like, what do you want them to say during your eulogy? And I have to say, like, I haven't seen a room full of men cry as much as we did when we actually put that together. Because when we're thinking about that from the perspective of like the people that we really care about, you get to see like, wow, this is what I want them to say. And now if there's any adjustments that you need to make, you get to make them now rather than, fast forwarding to then, right? So really thinking about this is like, what do I want people to say about me? What do I want my wife and kids? What do I want the people that I impact, right? The people here on YouTube, what do I want them to say about me? And when you can explore this question, you can go, maybe I am showing up like that, but maybe there's a way that I could show up even better, right? And it gets you to tap into this place of like, I have the ability of changing that right now. I know John Maxwell also talks about this. He talks about it called the law of legacy, like really thinking about what do you want your tombstone to say and realizing that we're still here. We still get to make those adjustments. And literally Annie is helping us today by figuring out how we can take ourselves out of those mundane tasks and put ourselves back into the things that matter most, that move our business forward, which ultimately leads to more impact in the world, right? So, all right, guys, great job today. Thank you very much, Annie. Appreciate you for everything. Kurt, thank you for holding us down the back, making it look like we know what we're doing. We have no idea what's going on, but the pretty, there we go. Bam, look at that. But I appreciate all of you guys who also are here on the call and you made it here to the end, because it proves to me that you are the leaders that not only the world needs to hear more from, but the ones that are like going out there, getting uncomfortable, doing the things where you don't feel ready to, but you're doing it because you feel compelled to make a huge impact in the world. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. Like, I wish there was more people in the world just like you. But for right now, let's do what we can. Let us do what we can on our end to help you be able to reach more people, to make more impact, to do whatever you possibly can so that you can build a business you love while also connecting deeply with your family and making sure your physical and mental health is a huge priority. So thank you for doing that with us. Annie, thank you again. Everybody have a great weekend, great holiday weekend. Spend some time with your family, and we'll see you again next Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Hey.